think we're good. Yeah, sounds like we have audio. So this is episode 2, I suppose, of the devblog for Delver Pass. And if you are not a backer, if you don't know what the hell any of this is, the interesting parts might be on the everything past the first update, the first section, which is going to be the Kickstarter update and the shipment and logistics around that. And afterwards, I'm just going to talk about a site that I have and the updates and changes I'm going to make to it that will be forthcoming. I don't know why this is so difficult. And that might be interesting if you don't know anything about the Kickstarter or the project. Just even the dev project by itself could be an interesting watch and my thoughts on it. So yeah, I don't know, enjoy that. Otherwise, we're gonna do 4 sections. The Kickstarter update, first of all, where the logistics are, where manufacturing's at, when you're gonna get your Delver passes. Link in the description for that Kickstarter for everyone who doesn't know what that is. Then the dev update on what progress I've made on features and setbacks, anything like that. Why are things slow? I feel like I need to address that because I made a video and I just posted it now, but that was 20 days ago or something. That every time I'm like, let's just do something quickly and easy, it never works out like that. There's always things to consider. So I considered editing and I considered I considered a whole bunch of things, but basically, why is everything so slow? Is probably what a lot of people are thinking. Like, dude, just work on the site, just add features. I'll explain what I've been working on, so hopefully it makes sense. And then I have a new feature idea. So at the very end, we'll see kind of a expansion of the previous idea from the last video, which was card suggestions. So someone being able to give a suggestion to somebody else's archive. So yeah, let's just get started. So the Kickstarter update will is basically that all the passes are ordered. We're now waiting for manufacturing. It's been finalized, paid, and everything like that. And one extra guy got in at the last minute before that order, so lucky for him. And let's see, we'll be at the Boston Q Party in April 12th to 13th in Boston. So in Boston, of course. Where else would it be? And we'll be running a booth. Apparently got all sold out, so I was like, well, at least can we run a booth? So we got that permission, but I probably can't draft or anything like that. It's all right, a late bird doesn't get anything. Early bird only gets the one that get the worm. So we've got a few named bundles. So it's like when I was thinking about doing this manufacturing, every time I have to do another manufacturing order, I have to pay shipping, import taxes, anything like that. So I figured, since we're doing an order for the Kickstarter, let's print some commonly made names, aliases for the Cobra passes and Golden Delver passes, the custom ones that we could sell that could have valuable names. So that's the kind of the tricky part, is that like normally the regular Delver passes are randomized with a set of names that are just kind of like, I got the inspiration from Keyforge, the Richard Garfield project with Fantasy Flight. I don't think it's Fantasy Flight, but either way, randomized names, randomized decks. I thought that was an interesting thing, and it could uniquely identify every single user, every single person who uses Delver.gg by their Delver Pass name. And each deck is basically individually identified by the name, such that even if you don't have your Delver Pass in your deck box, you can still say, and somebody's like, hey, what's your deck list? You could say it's at Delver.gg/ Thunderball Dreamtail and stuff like that. So that's like one of the things, is that like when I'm printing custom passes, when I'm printing the gold ones that are supposed to be like, yeah, this guy wants Amulet Titan, this guy wants, WoW Ftron, any custom alias. How do I print those proactively? It's like, well, somebody would have to come to me, ask it, and then I'd have to manufacture it. So instead we're like, okay, let's come up with a whole bunch of names, print some ahead of time, such that if you want any of those names, they will be available to purchase. And so yeah, that's kind of like what we'll be selling at the Boston Q Party. And we will have also so if you purchase one of the ones that we have, a list of the ones that are available that we have pre-printed basically, and we can ship those out relatively quickly. And the other orders, if you do want to make a custom order, that just will be delayed until the next wave, which I'm not even sure when it will happen. So you'll get it eventually, but we're still working on the logistics on that. I don't have a website or anything like that. I'm not selling these passes in a kind of like formalized manner anywhere else. So yeah, that's kind of like the Kickstarter update. Still anticipating May to be when we fulfill for all of the backers in the US and June for Europe, because shipping, and I'm gonna take a trip over there to do that. I'm gonna be in America from like late April and May, basically packaging these all up and getting them shipped out. And yeah, I guess let me know if there's any questions on that. Dev update. So now, if you're not a backer, this might be slightly interesting to you. So I've been on AWS since the beginning, and you have a Kubernetes cluster, and I use a bunch of the AWS services, but the most expensive part is the cluster itself, the nodes, the EC2 nodes that are used to run the site. And yeah, like I used to work at AWS, so I know like these are kind of like commodity level hardware, and basically renting it out is cheap enough to get up and down. It can scale infinitely, but it's kind of expensive if you just maintain it for a long period of time. So I'm trying to get a new hardware cluster that's just on-prem. That's my new goal, because I think the cost kind of makes sense. It's like $650 a month for AWS right now, and I could just spend $2,000, $2.5, let's say, with the networking and everything to get nodes that are more powerful than what I have now. Actually, I couldn't. Hold on. I have a cat, so I was gonna show you the nodes. They're behind me. Maybe if she leaves, I'll go grab one of those. So it's sitting in the corner. They're small boys. I didn't expect these nodes to be so small, but yeah. So I got those shipped. I'm thinking about making a video series of just like me installing whatever operating system makes sense for these nodes, and just like troubleshooting and just working through it. And I might do that just for fun, because I don't know. I think it's important to share these kinds of things. Unlike, people think I'm good at my job, like me, sure, but like, I don't know, I'm futzing around a lot. I just it's chaos a lot of the time. So I just like sharing this process, and maybe people find it interesting. Right, features, card suggestions. So card suggestions was the one I said last time I was working on most. So that is basically done on the back end. All the little like edge cases of like the nitty gritties, error cases, bad scenarios. It's well tested. I have a handful of bugs around upvoting, so upvoting won't be immediately available, but it will be a very fast follow, because I just want to basically get it connected to the front end and get the front end kind of like designed and built so that people can start using the feature. You don't need the upvoting just to have the ability to make suggestions. So right, for the front end is going to be fun, but effectively it will look kind of like modifying your own. All right. Oh, sorry. I thought Kat was leaving. No, she's readjusting. So it will be kind of like modifying your own archive, but then it will just have a list of cards that it accumulates that says like, I'd say plus and minus, and then you'll kind of like have that list of differences, and you can say make suggestion, and then it will submit it all at once to the archive, and the owner can then review it. And then of course there's lists of like where you can see all these suggestions you've made, all the suggestions you received, and then the owner can basically say, accept it, I want to apply these as is, if it's still valid, right? Because they could like remove a card that you say to remove, and now it's not a valid change. That is handled in that like the suggestion will stick around until you either dismiss it or you approve it, and you can only approve it if it's in a correct configuration. So that's it. I figure that's clean enough. I don't want to automatically like dismiss suggestions just because they become invalid. So I'll leave that up to the owner, and maybe we can find some fancier way of doing that in the future if that's a problem of these constantly becoming out of date. But also suggestions are immutable. As soon as you make a suggestion, that suggestion has to be accepted or declined as a one unit. So I did this because a lot of people can make the same suggestion, and I didn't want those to be overlapping. That doesn't make any sense. Like, what does it mean for two people to suggest the exact same thing? So what happens when you suggest something that somebody else has, it's uniquely identified, and then you will just basically be redirected to their suggestion, and you will upvote it by default. So that makes things a lot more straightforward as to what changes are actually being suggested, and you won't have these like a whole bunch of duplicates on something. I don't know how that's going to go, but these cases are handled. And again, like the testing and everything like that is relatively strong on the back end. So I had another secret feature I was working on, but it got delayed. It got delayed due to the Google Play Store is all I can say. So can't share much more than that, but I think you guys like it. So we'll see how that goes, but that one's delayed, and maybe in a few weeks, but no guarantees with the way Google does things. Yeah, that's a basic dev update. Now why are things slow? Why is software so slow? Why is software so incredibly behind schedule? And I just want to address this and say that I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just making people aware of the situation and to set expectations, like people paid for a thing, and I want to keep them updated with things as they go. I put the deadline of June and May because I knew I could ship the passes by then at minimum, and I thought I could also do the features, the software features. But wow, it has been like a lot of logistic fun time to manage, and so the more time I spend on logistics, the less time I have to just dev the features. So I'm the bottleneck. I'm always going to be the bottleneck for everything. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can offload that onto Laura if possible, but it's not easy. So right. And I only do this in my free time, effectively. Like I have a 9-to-5 job, and I work basically the mornings, evenings, when I can on this every day, and make sure that I'm getting progress on this, even though a lot of the progress I make is on the back end. And again, you won't see it necessarily until it's connected to the front end, and there's a front end UI that can like interact with the back end. So the hardest part is the back end and making sure that those things are like incredibly solid, because if you're allowed to make a request that can destroy your own archive or destroy the database effectively of valid data, that causes a big problem. So I make sure that all that stuff is done, and then connect it to the front end, and then add some kind of like validations on the front end to make sure you can't send a request that would be invalid. But otherwise, it's pretty. That's the lighter end of it. It's kind of like designing and making those changes so that it's functional. Now, right. Dev work in general is hard to estimate, I guess I should say, is another thing. Hidden complexity. If you ever find one thing that you need to do, it could sound really simple, but if you haven't done it before, there's, you unwrap that, and there's another thing behind it. Oh, you unwrap that, there's another thing behind it. So a thing that you say estimate, I could have this done by the end of the week, maybe like next week or something like that. Well, whoops, it actually took, 3 months or something. Like, it wasn't that one thing that took 3 months. It was that, I thought it was just this, but it was actually 10 more items. Then those 10 more items each had, one extra item, and then it kind of inflates. So notoriously, software estimates are reading tea leaves. It's scrying. Like you have no idea. Nobody can tell the future because we haven't been there. If you want a consistent estimate on something, like, have it built already, and then you'll be like, I know exactly how long it takes because I've already built this. But then you don't need to estimate that. So yeah, just wanted to point that out in case any people haven't done a software project before. And bugs. Oh yeah, so I've been tracking down like a whole bunch of like minor bugs that, again, on the front end, again, because the back end is very solid, but the front end, sometimes people run into these like really, really minor annoying issues, like, the redirect for the activation link doesn't work. Okay, well, what did you click? Where did you click it? What exactly happened? Like, even reproducing it is sometimes difficult, but I'm getting some of those kind of like cleaned up, and I think activation links still aren't working necessarily, but it's okay. You don't need the activation link to use the site. I've just disabled that so far. We'll get them out later. We'll be able to like, resend an activation link to like verify your email address. But again, I didn't want to have it be a blocker on people like just using the site. Right, and then we also had multiple like all weekend events. There was the Dutch Open Series, and then the and then the Utrecht Spotlight series. It was run by Fanfinity. Basically, it was a GP. I mean, like, I'm just gonna call it a GP because it's a GP. Large modern GP. It was like 1,600. I don't know. It was like a ton of modern players. I just went there and played Legacy, and traded some cards at the stores. It was really nice. I haven't been to one of these events to play in a while because I feel like I've been going every single weekend to, like, at the Dose. I was at I set up a booth, and I was basically just running the booth instead of like actually playing. And I was like, this is kind of a bummer, like I like playing Magic. That's why I made the site. So I'm gonna try and get more time to like play Magic and just like every single week, because as soon as I start playing Magic, as soon as I start using my own site, I'm like, oh damn, I wish it did this, I wish it did that, right? And so like I feel like I still need to like stay connected with Magic, and not get kind of like drowned in just like being the person who works on this site, because that's not gonna do as good as if I just play some Magic and be like, oh, I could just make this change and then everything would be a lot better. So yeah, the logistics around manufacturing and shipping took a lot of my time, and that's why I couldn't do as much dev work. And I'm anticipating that I'll have more time as soon as that shipping is all done again in May and I get back here. I should have, again, less logistics and less individual things. And even if I print something, I have the exact like files that I want to use to print those, and all those things are set up with the manufacturer, so it should be easier to reorder. But yeah, that's why the dev work has been a bit slow, and there haven't been many new features added since, well, the beginning of the year. But there's a new feature idea now. We have, I thought about this. So I was making a change to my deck, and basically I had a deck that I wanted to change into a different archetype of the deck. I play Painter, and that Painter list I changed greatly. I removed the Goblin Engineers and the Goblin Welders, and I got like the One Ring and Pyrogoyf. Holy crap, what a card. So Pyrogoyf got in, but I didn't have all these cards at once. I ended up having to get them and buy them. But I wanted the deck to be like representative. Like I was missing maybe one Pyrogoyf or something, and I needed to basically still have a deck that I could go to the Utrecht Spotlight series and play with it if I could, not necessarily like register a deck list. But I mean, even so, yeah, like just play. I have a deck that it's like playable, that's like format legal. And then if I could get the cards there, then I can actually make those swaps. And just keeping track of what those swaps are without actually applying them to the deck list ended up being pretty important. I'm shaking the table. I'm so excited. So I thought of an idea, like given a card suggestion, like if I'm just going to somebody else's archive and I go, hey, you should add this and add this and add this and remove these, that's an interesting store of information. And given that only other people can do it for your archive, like other people can give you a suggestion on your archive, you could also make a suggestion on your own archive, phrased in a different way. So I have this idea for like a suspended changes, where you can like edit your list, but you could also have like a toggle when you're adding a card, a checkbox, and whether it's checked or not. And if it's checked, you could say like a suspended change. And when it does that, it starts generating the list just like a card suggestion change would. And then that could just be at the top of your deck list. It could be, collapsed or hidden. And you can choose to apply that whenever you want. So you can have a deck list that you can, sleeve up and take to a tournament. And if you find the cards you're looking for, these are what the swaps are. So it's like plus this, minus this. And then you can say, like, as soon as I get those swaps, apply all. Or as soon as I get individual ones, apply individual changes. And then I can keep track of not only where the deck list is currently at, but where I want it to be. What card is currently holding the place of that? Like, oh, was it Lightning Bolt that I meant was as the fourth Pyrogoyf? Like, I have to like keep this stuff in memory, which is like not, then the deck list isn't serving me. Like the deck list site isn't serving me if it doesn't keep this information. So I ended up having to like make a list or something like that. And I'm like, well, if I have to make a paper list, it's not doing what it needs to do. So it needs to do that. So I'm going to reuse basically as soon as the card suggestions feature is done. I'm seeing how quick it'll be to basically make a auto-attached card suggestion that is just your suspended changes list. And you can fill that out as needed and you can add those apply, but it's going to get just an extra piece of information for a user. And that can be for cubes or regular decks. So yeah, that's that's kind of most of it. And then yeah, I'm not sure when I'll actually work onto it. I want to get the card suggestions done and then reprioritize stuff. Maybe that comes next, just because I'll be like already in the same headspace for it. But I also then want to get to the tournament software. That's another like big milestone that I want to hit for well, the backers. That's like the two main seller points of the site is the card suggestions after a draft, and then like the actual draft integration. So yeah, I think that's it for now. Just want to drop a quick update, and this will probably be out in another day or two. Maybe I'll put it on Monday so we have some distance between the videos. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.